Chad Hartline.
And I'm Tammy Simmons.
Welcome to a special edition of Hop of the Morning.
Guess where we are today, Chad?
I'm guessing some kind of Western set.
Yep, how did you guess? With our nice little get-ups here?
Yeah, straight from the wardrobe department of Day of the Gun. And this is actually the jacket that Brian Sinclair wore in the movie.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome. Too bad my jacket is just from the store.
It works.
Chad, we're going to be touring the set of Day of the Gun?
Yeah, it ought to be really exciting.
I'm super excited. I like to know more about what's going on and behind the scenes, because you never really get to see that when you're actually on camera all the time.
We have a great show for you today. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back.
I'm gonna drive 100 head of Cyrus McCall's cattle up to Pine Ridge Reservation in 2 days. I'm gonna go through McCall's fence and I'm gonna go across your land, Ned Carter. And there better be $3,000 waiting for me when I get there.
I don't like fences any more than you do, Baggy Carter, but I'm not losing more cows.
That wire comes down, or there will be hell to pay.
Stop it, Ned. Don't be a fool!
There's always a score to settle.
This is the entrance to the town of Singletree, and hanging up there is, in fact, a single tree. The storyline has it, although it's really not a big deal in the film, is that the town was founded when its founder broke a single tree, which actually tied the horse to the wagon. He couldn't move on, so he simply decided to form a town here, and hence the town's name became Singletree, Montana. And that's the biggest single tree we could find. Notice that the top part of the saloon isn't finished. Craig Herring will add to that saloon so it looks as if it's a 3-story building, but we did not have to build it beyond the second floor. Digitally, we will put in the rest of the building.
Oh, okay.
On the day of the gun, I know that this was another scene at one time. Can you explain?
Yes, this started out as being just an old abandoned relay station and a big shootout that we had staged there. After that footage was shot, which actually appears in the second act of the film, we went back and covered over this with a sheriff's office facade that is based on, again, research that we had done, especially centering on 1890s Montana. Many of the buildings would have been primitive like this. Other buildings, like the one right next to it, would have been much more modern. Again, we're looking at 1895. There were huge transitions happening at that particular time, so it was not unusual to have a very primitive 1860s or earlier kind of a building right next to a much more modern design.
Share the idea of passage of time. With some of our early scenes, before we had our church built at all, we had a little church tent sitting off on the side of one of our other buildings. So that was the early church. And then now the idea is later on, when you're seeing later scenes, you know, the town's prospered a little more, they've got a little more money, they've been able to build a real church. So again, it fits with the storyline as well as the abilities.
In everyday life,
yeah,
you progress.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Time to go to jail, mister.
I think it's locked on the inside.
Can I grab your bag?
I'll throw me in jail.
You need to go to jail.
You want to, anybody else walking up?
Why don't you guys come with us and we'll take a look at our studio house. It serves both as the exterior for the Carter Ranch as well as several interiors.
Sounds good.
Straight back is our, first room here to the right is our costume. I'm sorry, left. There's nothing on the right. Your left. It's a good one. That is a
Back here.
Did you?
I took 70 all the way back.
There was some up there, and I was like,
There's some right here in Maryland.
oh, did we?
Yeah, Buffalo Farms. Yep. In northern Baltimore County, Harford County.
Actually, you're in One-Eyed Horse Productions studio house. This serves as for set pieces. It serves as a place where we store our costumes, basically, and we occasionally have meetings here. It's an old house that was built in the 1920s, and it has served us all very, very, very well. Right now, you're sitting in the dining room area for our Carter family. We did not use necessarily these particular furnishings, but we did shoot a scene in here. Back over your shoulder is the Carter parlor or sitting room, and we have several scenes that are shot in that particular location. We took a lot of time to distress our walls to make them photograph more effectively and to dress the room with period furniture.
We did a dining room scene in here where we had food served, and we found food scenes are very interesting because when you're doing a take and you've got food that's being served, every time you start to take over, you've got to clean the plates and put the food back in the bowl. And we've actually done 2 dinner scenes. We learned from the first one how to simplify on the second one, so it wasn't quite so much work for each step, but that was a lot of fun.
And, as Jill mentioned, dinner scenes are always fun to shoot because of you've got to go back every take. You've got to go back and redo the food. Yeah. We shot at the Benson Hammond House, which is near the Baltimore Washington Airport, for one of our sequences, and they have, of course, a beautiful dining room, and it just fit the more affluent family of the McCalls perfectly. But how long did it take us to shoot that?
Several hours to shoot a 5-minute scene.
Right, exactly, because of just having to redress the food, yeah. And people were starting to eat it. They got hungry and started to eat everything.
Yeah, we did have real food, and it was good food. So yeah, people were willing to eat as they went. But it was a lot of fun. But a lot of hands involved in.
Right, a lot of hands, for sure.
Do you use the outside of the house and the yard? And
We dressed the front of the house, as you saw when you came in. We dressed the front of the house to look like an 1890s ranch house, kind of a moderate income ranch house. We just did a facade down part of each side, and then the entire front was created to look like a ranch house from the 1890s.
In both cases, the houses that we have will be placed eventually in a Montana setting with post-production with computer graphics, so that they'll have a completely different background from what they really had in real life when we filmed them.
I'm waiting for my hosts. I can give you direction, but
So
okay,
are y'all
one minute
going to-
and
oh.
action. So
So are y'all going to film at all in Montana at all, or mainly it's here and then?
We have a young lady named Sydney Russell who is filming for us in Montana. She has shot both still plates as well as video that we are going to include in the film. We have shots of buffalo, and everything is just stunningly done, and we will be able to place through the magic of Craig Herron's computer graphics, we'll be able to place our characters and our action in these larger set piece money shots, as we call them. So for all intents and purposes, we are in Montana, and we think it's going to sell very well.
Well, that's good. You need live shoots and bring it all together to get that real Western
Absolutely.
feel.
And we hope to actually, when we premiere the film in say August of 2013, we are actually hoping to have one of our premieres in Montana.
now you said this house was built in the 20s?
This house, as far as we know, my family bought the farm in 1948. The house had been here for some time. We did find some documentation that suggested that the house was built in 1926. We're not 100% sure about that, but the entire family has lived in this house at some time or another while we were growing up and saving money to build our own houses.
So what set are we going to see first?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to the Single Tree Saloon. Let's go inside, Loretta.
yeah, now I don't know what we're going to be able to see inside though.
You're not going to be able to see. I mean, I don't have any lights here. I've got electricity, but I don't have any
Hold the
lights.
doors open for 1 second. So oh wait, not too bad, not too bad.
Hey, Chad, this is our saloon. This is the Single Tree Saloon. It was built earlier this year, and the main structure is a tobacco barn that goes back into the 40s. And what we did was simply dress it as if it were a 1890s saloon. We took our cues from period photographs of saloons in Montana in the 1890s, and we actually recreated one pretty close to the image that we had.
I wanted to know more about the theater and the piano, and how does all this play into, and who made the props, and
We need to talk to our assistant director, Jill Ryan Gray, who in fact was responsible for the curtains on the stage.
That was actually one of the first things I did when I came on. Was Wayne gave me a box of curtains that are left over from some play that he'd worked with on a high school scene or whatever. So we took them and I figured out the lengths we needed and had some people come and help me staple them up, and we adjusted them a little bit and tried to create an image of a stage, which we haven't actually used yet, but we're hoping to use in one of our later shots as some action that's on the stage. So it's just been a backdrop so far. We're hoping to get some actual piano playing, dancing on the stage action to give it a little more of a lively feel for one of our scenes.
a good Western cannot have, without a stage scene with the piano and, part of the...
Is it a real piano or a pocket?
Actually, this is a real piano. We got it first for the film One-Eyed Horse that we did back in 2007. Somebody gave us the piano. We refinished it. It had 10 dead keys on it, but believe it or not, the music that you hear in the bar scene in One-Eyed Horse is actually coming from that piano with an expert pianist, or a piano player, I guess he would like to refer to himself as. He managed to eat the sound out of that. It was unbelievable because it has, right now, probably 20 dead keys on it, but he managed to play around it.
Change the color a little bit for this film, I believe, didn't you?
We changed it just slightly. We changed some of the decorations on it for this, and we haven't played it yet, but we will in our final shoot day, where we're going to have a piano player and we're going to have somebody on stage that we can probably cut into the film.
So this is like the authentic bar here, or is this something I can shoot? Or see, would you prefer I didn't shoot it?
Oh, no, okay. No, it doesn't matter. We have right over. This is very close to the image. In fact, I probably had the image over here. We had it sitting here at one time, the actual picture that was used. This is not it. But we recreated a Montana bar. What we did with this, we took a tobacco barn that was on our farm. It was put up here sometime in the 1940s, and we got a picture from a Montana bar. We actually got several pictures from Montana saloons, and we took one that we thought would fit the overall structure of the barn, and we recreated that saloon based on that picture. And it's really fairly close, including the stairs and the placement of the potbelly stove and the placement of the bar. Everything is reasonably close to that image.
I was wondering what stage of the production you're at in the Days of the Gun movie.
We are 80% shot, I think.
Yeah.
Jill's our script supervisor and assistant director. She knows more about these things than I do, but I think we're roughly 80%. We have a couple of significant shooting days, including the finale that are coming up in mid-April, and our last shoot day is
May 4th, Saturday.
Saturday, May 4th, and we're going to fill the town with background action people. We're going to have our computer-generated train arrive, and we actually are coming back to the beginning of one of our first days of shooting here. So anyway, May 4th should be the actual day where we wrap principal photography on Day of the Gun.
Wow, wasn't that fun?
Yeah, that was great. I liked seeing the saloon and how they mocked up the old bars and the old piano. And what else would you like to say about the house? Anything? We've talked about the outside and these two rooms. Any other rooms that have been used in the movie?
Actually, we used this house for what, Jill, 5 settings?
Yes, we have. If we include the outside, we've got 2 rooms upstairs that we've made into that are supposed to be in our Carter family house. One is the mother of the family. It's her room, and we've dressed that quite nicely. So it's got a lot of texture in it, and it's a very small space. So it's interesting to shoot in because you sometimes have 7, 8 people in this small room, and of course the only person to be in the shot is the person that's supposed to be in the shot. But it's a wonderful space to work with. And then behind that we've got a small space we've got a lot of angles up there because of the shape of the house. It's a very small space. We've got a cot. One of the sort of the special ranch hand from the family, who's kind of an important character. We've created a space for him that reflects his character very well. And there's some really nice shots in there. And those scenes are actually done without dialogue, but they're just very atmospheric, and they're very good.
So was it hard to shoot upstairs with the lack of light and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, it was. As always is the case, you set the lighting up and figure out how to do it, and then you bring the actors in, and then you have to make sure everybody that's there is, out of the way, including the, the light structures and, that everything.
Makes it a challenge.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, very much a challenge. We also use one other room, which is a bedroom that we dressed for the much more affluent McCall family, most of which was shot at the Benson Hammond House near the airport. But we needed a very tight bedroom scene. One of our main character has been wounded and he's near death, and we have the doctor and his wife and a friend there. So we used one of the rooms here in this house to be that space. So and it seems to match fine. All we did was dress it a little more upscale.
Right. Yeah, you can change the whole look of the room just by the furniture that you bring in or whatever, and how you create the room.
So this old place has been extremely useful, not only to our family, but also to our film shoot. We used it in our first film, One-Eyed Horse. We used this room and that room. This room behind you was a jail, and it was a bunkhouse. It was whatever we used is what we could. We used our resources, and we converted this larger sitting room into any number of places. We simply dressed it as a jail or as a bunkhouse or whatever we needed.
And the rooms that we're not using as sets are the kitchen, where we literally have food served when we're here for a whole day shoot. And one room is our costume room. And we've got a room in the back that people go in to get their makeup on. So every part of this house is being used in some form or another for these shoots.
So this is the actual studio for everyone to have the makeup and everything done?
Yeah, this is pretty much where people, come to when the shoot starts.
Pretty much
And and if it's a big shoot, we might be serving the food out on the front lawn. And, we've got on the cold days, people that aren't in the scene or sitting in the living room, keeping warm. And so there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Now, does the stove actually work, the potbelly stove?
Does the stove work, Wayne?
The stove actually does work. We don't use it as such, but it has worked, and it has served us on occasion. We've had as many as 150 or 60 background action people here at one time. Not here, obviously, but on the set while we were shooting, and they would ultimately all come back here to eat. In between takes. So it was the house has supported an awful lot of human traffic.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a lot of these, like the stoves, is actually, it seems very authentic, or is it really?
Well, just about everything in here is authentic. We dress the house as best we can to save the amount of time it would take. Since we're a little independent production, we don't have huge crews to come in and simply modify a place. So we dress it as we think we need to use it, and we use the chairs both for set pieces as well as for practical use. When we're ready to shoot, we lock the set, we secure the set so that things don't get moved around, and then we shoot in that space, and then it automatically evolves back into a practical area where holding occurs, holding of the actors.
Something like our gun rack over here in the corner that right now looks pretty empty. On a day when we're going to be, when that's going to be in the shot, Wayne Fletcher, our ammunitions person, comes in with his guns and fills things out in there so it looks the way we want it to look for that particular scene.
Okay, thanks, Jill. We have to give it a break right now, but we'll be right back.
This is the Singletree Bank. It's the most modern structure in Singletree, Montana, 1895. It too was based on several photographs that we found. It would have been built maybe five years before the actual action starts. And since Singletree is both a mining town and a cattle town, there was a good bit of money floating around, and they certainly needed a first-class secure bank.
How long did it take you to mock this up?
This bank was designed by a top-notch carpenter named Greg Eichler. He and his buddy Mark Cardinal, who did a lot of the construction here, they managed to get it up in about 3 days total work.
So it's not uncommon that this is banked now, but it might have been like another set at the previous time.
We could reconfigure the set. It could be a cattlemen's association. It could be any number of things. But right now, it's the bank, and for this film, it remains so. Probably in a year or year and a half at most, we're going to strike the entire set. In some cases, I'm going to donate set pieces to. There's for instance a heritage initiative in Howard County. We're talking about the possibility of building a town there. So any pieces that I have that we can donate, we're going to do it.
On a shoot day when you've got everybody here in costumes and you've got the set really set up, it's amazing how quickly it changes from a sort of generic looking set like this to something that really looks like you're in the West in the 1890s. It's very impressive how realistic.
Totally different atmosphere.
Yes.
What exactly took place here when you were going over, you know, you said when it was all crowded and you had a wagon come through here. What scene was taking place at that time?
We've had several town scenes, one of which involved the arrival of one of our chief nasty guys, played by Richard Cutting, and he arrives by stagecoach. So it's a crowded day. A little mining town like this would have a lot of people in and out all the time, and he arrives by stagecoach. So it's always effective to have lots of townspeople floating around. It just gives us a sense of place, and so that was the scene there. Nasty guy shows up, gets off the stagecoach, looks around the town, and that's when we cut.
Hi, I'm Craig Herron. I'm the visual effects supervisor and the production designer of Day of the Gun, Wayne Shipley's movie. I'm here to talk to you about the western town that we're going to do and some of the visual effects that we will be using on Day of the Gun. First of all, I'll give you a little tour of the area. The first place we see is the barn. This is an existing tobacco barn, I think, and we will be building a saloon facade here that will go along the front of it. Now, as we go down the side of the saloon, you will see where we will have several other facades built once again into the original saloon that's standing, and these will represent the Cattlemen's Association and a couple of other type of stores, mercantile store maybe, sheriff's office. Hasn't been decided what goes where at the moment, but we know we will have 3 stores or shops along this area here. At the very end of the main barn is the livery stable and mortuary. Now, they really did have mortuaries and livery stables tied together. I thought that was sort of amusing, so we will probably be doing something similar. Beyond that, this area over here will be either a small group of 3 or 4 facades and a walkway, or it could also possibly be a stable with some horses in it. We're working on that at the moment. It'll be one or the other, or a combination of both. At the end of the road here, we will have a railroad station that'll run between the 2 sides of the street. It will have a platform and a small freight office on it, and the 2 sides of that will be green screen. And we will be keying out the green screen, which means we're taking out the part of the screen that's green and just sort of removing what's in back of our actors. And we will be putting in a computer model of an 1875 steam train, Baldwin locomotive. This is based on a real steam train that is in the Strasburg Railroad Museum in Pennsylvania, and we are working with Steve Manola and some of the people up there at getting this correct, our scale model, and we will be using some shots of the original 1875 steam engine they have called the Tahoe. We can't use the original steam engine because it's 100 and some odd years old and doesn't move anymore. So we will be replicating that in the computer, like they do on a lot of visual effects movies these days. Battleship and Lord of the Rings, all of those have things made out of the computer graphics for mechanical objects and even organic creatures these days. Okay, now to the left side of the street here, there's going to be another row of facades. These will be slightly more elaborate than some of the others, and they will contain offices and stores, etc. At the end of this will be something connected with the train. That might be a railroad station or a freight warehouse or something of that nature. Now let's take a walk down here. As we go down past the old barn, down the street, past the old barn, get into the back lot, you can see that container in the distance, shipping container, and that will be covered over with the church that we will be building. It's based on a church that's in the ghost town of Bodie in California. And that's going to be very interesting. This will be where people go to church. There may be a cemetery around it. And this whole area back here will be useful for different activities. Well, that's pretty much the tour of the area. And hope you will enjoy being involved with Day of the Gun. It's going to be quite an exciting project. In terms of the visual effects we're going to be using, we'll be replacing some of our backgrounds and skies with original footage that we will shoot or have shot in Montana and Wyoming to give it a more western look to it. So the basic town and structures will be here, but the backgrounds will be shot on location in the real West, and we will composite them together in post-production. It's going to be a really fun project.
Now, this is a train station, and I'll explain what's going to happen here. This is our train station. Right now it looks a little hollow, but what will happen is that we will have a huge green screen behind the train station, which will allow the train, the computer-generated train, to arrive, and people will be getting off it. In fact, this whole sequence occurs at the very beginning of the film, where we have one of our main characters arriving from back east. Right, all this was built from scratch, using existing outbuildings.
You got a truck over there holding the side of the building up.
Right, that little farm truck there that's actually holding up the side of the post office. We had the truck there. We didn't know what to do with it, so we built a building around it.
Bring in colors, and he'd have us try a small space on a building. He'd say, "No, I don't like that." We try another color until we had a color line that he liked for each place.
Craig Herron is our basically our production designer. Craig is of Herron Designs locally here in Baltimore, and he's the one who did the basic designs for the buildings, and as Jill said, created the colors. I don't make color choices, but he does.
We just came back from the train station. There's a lot of interesting facts about that.
We depend an awful lot for this particular film on what the computer can create, or whatever production designer can create in his computer. Craig Herron is going to create an entire train within his computer. He's going to put us in the middle of Montana using actual Montana footage, and our actors, when they need to be, will be in there. We also use a good deal of green screen work, where we can place an actor's face or even his or her entire body in a setting that simply isn't there. This is part of the reality of filmmaking today, that actors have to be able to perform in front of a green screen or blue screen or whatever. Things that aren't there, they're responding to. So it's a special talent, something that's relatively new. In our first film, we had only one computer-generated action in it, and that was a gun muzzle blast. In this film, we're going to have I would say at least 25 or 30 significant computer-generated sequences in which our actors are live and parts of the background are here, but the larger scope, the establishing images will simply not be, and they will be composited into the frame.
Pretty amazing considering the whole rail station's only about 20 or 30 feet long.
Right. I can guarantee you it will look credible.
Before we do a shot like that, Craig will give us we'll say, okay, we're going to do a shot outside of the front of the house, and we know we've got actors in front of it, but he wants the background to look different later. So he gives us an actual copy of that picture with colored around it saying, okay, my red area, nobody can be in that red area. So we know where the actors can and can't move. So when he does his work later, we have it messed up what he needs to be able to do.
So a director of photography, Jeff Herberger, then we have to compose the shot so that these actors don't violate those masks, because in reality what will happen is they will just disappear if that happens, which we can't have. So we have to say, okay, you can't go beyond here, even though there's room to do that. You cannot do that because that's where the mask is, and we'll be adding that area. We'll be compositing that area into the frame. So it's filmmaking has become an extremely focused business when it comes to making sure you have a credibility in your locations.
Yeah, it's amazing since I've gotten into acting. It looks choppy behind the scenes, but then it all comes together in the end. It looks real nice.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing how we get here from there. You know, the whole filmmaking process is arduous. It's not like theater at all. And my first love is theater, but the filmmaking is a completely different process, and it's extremely demanding, and we constantly need. I depend on Jill so much because her mind is steel trap when it comes to what the composition has to be based on what Craig has given us as far as masks and things like this go. So it's a collaborative effort, certainly. And it's an extremely focused, demanding effort to make it work.
A lot of background. You don't just show up that day and say, oh, what are we going to do now? There's a lot of planning that goes into those shots, especially if you know there's going to be computer-generated stuff added later on.
All the work happens way before you start the cameras cranking, that's for sure.
It makes it real versatile with the green screen, because you can put whatever you want on it and make whatever background, whatever.
Right, and if it's done right, if it's lighted, if the screen is lighted properly, it really is seamless. Really is seamless. We have a shot of one of our actors riding across the field, and in the foreground, herd of buffalo. In the background, these huge mountains. And I defy you to determine where these are where it's cut, how it's composited, because it simply looks real. Unlike when I was growing up, we could see in the background they used process shots where rear projections were being used, and you could just tell it was fake. You just can't do that today. It is that tight.
It's come a long way in technology.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I noticed you also mentioned on this set when we were looking at the saloon, you mentioned that you could see one part of it, and then the other part you're going to use a green screen, or what else are you going to use?
Well, we will composite. We built the first 2 floors of the saloon on the exterior. We did not have to build the 3rd floor, only because, one, it would have been expensive to do it. It would have taken us a lot of time to build it, and we didn't need to because Craig Heron will add the 3rd floor to it in his computer. Since nothing passes in front of it, then we're safe. As long as we don't have people moving where we're compositing, we're okay.
And internally, we're going to do a similar type thing. We had that staircase that sort of went to nowhere. We have done some shooting elsewhere that is supposed to be that 2nd floor inside the saloon. It will get compiled together somehow post-production so that it will appear from inside as though there is a 2nd floor up there, and then it'll make sense the person's walked up and gone up into whatever room they're going to.
Yeah, the independent filmmaker has really benefited from the technology that's currently available. Not only are you not burning film. If you were shooting celluloid, you have to be really careful. You can only, it's expensive. It's extremely expensive. With digital photography, basically the expense is no, the actual print is not that difficult to come by, because you can shoot it, you can shoot over it, you can do whatever you need to do, because everything is digital.
Okay, Wayne, that was great. Oh, we're going back on our tour.
Good. This is our cemetery set. As Jill said, this is our newest set, and it figures prominently near the end of the film, in which one of our main characters has been dispatched, and actually his death causes the rest of what happens all the way up to the climax of the film. So we have a family sequence where the deceased's mother, his sister, and the rest of the ranch hands from Carter Ranch attend the service.
Including his horse.
Including his horse, yes. His horse.
Yeah, this is one of our newest sets, as Wayne had mentioned. It's the one where we realized we needed a cemetery, and we wanted a small family-looking cemetery, something that looked like it had been here a while and was rather rustic. And some of these graves are meant to be been here for quite a few years, and some of them are obviously fresh and new. But we wanted something that could create that image for us, and it's come across really nicely on screen. We did some shooting on it the other day, and we've gone back and looked at some of that footage, and we're very pleased with the way that it looks.
And the tombstones are made of wood, or
tombstones are made of styrofoam, wood, and that's probably it. Styrofoam, wood, and some planking as well. But
it would have been stone back then.
Would have been granite. One of our design people, Kim Johnson, was excellent at faux painting. She created a sense of granite on these wood pieces, because all of these would have been probably some form of stone, probably granite. Some of our older headstones are in fact wood, as they would have been. Again, what we did was research pretty heavily various graveyards, and we wanted to make it look like a family plot, not a fairly large church cemetery.
Yeah, and they couldn't all afford granite all the time.
No, of course not. The largest stone belongs to the man who owned the ranch. This is his son's stone, or at least.
Where a ranch hand may be in the cemetery but not have the same, monetary put into the, making the headstone. This fence piece is actually one that we used elsewhere in other shots earlier in the movie, but we need the fence, so it got pulled up and moved as things happen with movie sets. You can
always hedge your bets and use your resources when you're making film, because it's all about creativity.
You definitely made it look authentic.
Actually standing on anybody's return.
Yeah, that's one we, in fact, that was Susan's idea, that there would probably be a broken one in there. So we took the styrofoam, Kim did the work on it, and to make it look like granite, and then we broke it, because very likely that would have happened.
Yeah, especially Montana winters, they're pretty.
Right, the Montana winters are actually, just unbelievably severe. So stone, anything that had any moisture in it would freeze, and the granite would in fact crack.
Get brittle.
Yeah. So we were trying to create some measure on. We don't necessarily see this, but in case we needed it, it was here.
Wow, wasn't that really great at the cemetery?
It was awesome. It looked really authentic. You're really lucky to have such the opportunity to shoot on the actual sets.
Yeah, we have other locations. Jill, you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. We've been lucky. We've had so much space we can use here. We've done the things you've seen, as well as a little farther reaching. We've gone off into the woods and filmed some shots. We've also gone elsewhere. We went to Lothian, Maryland, and did a shot where we had a barn available to us, and we did some shots right outside the barn with some still work, and then we also had some horses riding through some fields that we had, and actually we had luckily to have some cows in the shot, which was nice, so we could bring them in as well. So we've done a little bit of that as well, going off on location shoots.
We may want to touch on the horses. They're kept right here on site, right?
A few of them. Some of them we use. We have several people that provide horses for us. As a matter of fact, one of our actors has his own horse that when he comes and he needs it, he uses his own, and we have some here, and we have other people that provide horses for us. So they, become part of our cast list. So when we have a particular character and they've got a horse associated with them, that horse needs to be there that day if he's being used in the shot. And we found that horses can be very temperamental when they're on. You don't
have to worry about them being union either.
No.
Now, when you're dealing with horses, the important thing, we shoot multiple cameras almost all the time, because it's very difficult, especially with horses that aren't used to being a part of a movie set. Everything is new, the reflectors, the cameras, and then the horses are naturally animals of flight. They're to protect themselves. Therefore, we generally have at least 2, sometimes 3 cameras running at the same time so that we can get the action matched and we don't have to worry too much about getting takes for coverage. We already have our coverage because one camera is shooting the master, another camera is shooting a close-up, and that way the action matches really nicely. And our director of photography, Jeff Herberger, has learned to embrace the multiple camera shoot. It does make a huge difference in your ability to get a lot done in a little bit of time. We've shot as many as 10 pages of script in a single day.
Yeah, I guess continuity with the horses goes right out the window because you're not going to do the same thing
No,
twice.
no. Even your best trained horses sometimes won't do that, and your actors too, because actors tend, and if you look at it, just about, I don't care how expensive the production is, you can find myriad continuity flaws. A tie that's here and a tie that's over, that kind of thing happens all the time. And we try to avoid that using multiple cameras.
So do y'all have like a horse trainer to keep them calm?
My wife, Pat, who is both the costumer as well as the riding instructor on occasion. We also have Bob Brown, who is our chief wrangler. He handles the horses when they're not on set. I enjoy the horse work myself, so it's still challenging. Anytime you have horses, you're going to have some problems. It's just the nature of the beast in this particular case. And since some of our horses are rentals, we generally have, I think, on this particular shoot, we'll have a total of about 15 different horses that will be used. Some of which we actually put makeup on. The ones that are more suitable, let's say, for camera work, we have in the past added blazes and taken blazes away, and just so that the horse can appear and not be associated with another character. Those of us who grew up in old cowboy movies realize that the hero rode a white horse or just some horse or a palomino horse. Everybody else rode a bay horse, a brown horse, so it didn't matter because they all look alike, and that way whoever was supplying the horses didn't have to worry too much about so-and-so riding this particular horse.
Say you have an actor that's a novice rider, like say me, I've only ridden a few times. Could you take me and train me to ride a horse good enough for the movie?
To ride good enough for the movie would take at least 10 or 12 lessons to make you comfortable enough to look, because most of it's about the look. We have to, since we're working in the eastern part of the United States, not that many people ride horses, we tend to bring on doubles, people who I have 3 or 4 people that I regularly call upon for running insert shots, whereas we put the costume of the actor on that person, and that person then for a galloping sequence we're shot from behind, and it becomes credible then that this person is doing it. We have the actor on the horse turn the horse to his right, let's say, and then we cut away to the stunt rider riding the horse at speed. We do have several. One of our leads, Jason Brown, who's an excellent horseman. Whenever you see him, it's him on the horse doing, whether he's rounding up cattle or chasing another animal. That's all him. But that's rare. We often have to bring in somebody who doubles our actors.
I was looking at the trailers and they really look great. Can you tell us more about if we're going to see any more?
Well, we will probably cut together 2 or 3 more trailers, each probably aimed at a different demographic. The look belongs almost totally of our trailers to Jeff Herberger, our director of photography. He is just a master at cutting trailers together.
Okay, we're going to go back on the tour right now. So let's go see what's next.
We get out of the church. We'll get out of the church. The church is kind of neat. That was the last piece that we created.
So basically, y'all say there's a lot of research that goes on before any of this ever takes place.
Oh, absolutely. We spent hours poring over period photographs, and also we were tied to the basic outbuildings that we had to work with. So we had to build sidewalks, and our goal was to make sure it looked fairly authentic. Even though right now, without the people in it, without the magic of cameras, it's hard to see. Well, actually, there's a lot of synthetic figures back in 1895.
Extra materials or
yeah,
like a plan?
Materials. What we did was we ended up purchasing discarded lots. We put the floor into the saloon with lumber that had been lying outside for about 3 or 4 years, so it was appropriately aged.
Yeah.
And we bought it fairly inexpensively and brought it up and put the entire floor of the saloon in. So this is our cache of stuff left over.
Stockyard.
Right.
Recently we needed a tombstone and we came searching through and we found a piece that was just the right shape for what we needed. We could paint a name on it and it was set.
It's all about using your resources.
Yep.
Hi!
Hi! Welcome to another episode of Top of the Morning. We're on a great set here of Day of the Gun. We'll be showing you around the set. Tammy, how do you think? What do you think about this set?
I think it's going to be awesome today. We're going to look around, play around a little bit, and just have a great old time here.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, this is our church. This is the last piece that we finished. One of our investors insisted that we have a church in the scene, so we made sure it got in there. This is the last set that we created. It's our little church. It was based on the church in Bodie, Montana, and we have almost finished it. We have some painting to do. Beyond that, putting in, using computer-generated graphics, we'll be putting in trees to give it a little bit more breadth. And we've designed it so that we can have any number of people come out of it, even though it's not practical. You can't go inside it very easily, but we've designed it so that we can have 25 or 30 people exit it because we have a false door here, so everybody can make it an exit.
When the steeple was built, they did the steeple stacked backwards along the roof line, and it was like what a 4-man job to stand the steeple up when they were finally ready to.
It's roughly about 25 feet off the ground, the steeple, so it creates a fairly impressive looking sight even from a distance. In our final shoot day, we're going to have the stagecoach ride past here, and there will be a wedding going on, and people will be coming out of the church, and the bride and the groom, and so it'll that's how it figures into the story. It's kind of an accessory. It's a background action piece.
Welcome back. I'm Chad Hartline.
And I'm Tammy Simmons.
And we've had a great time walking around the set today. And thanks to Mr. Wayne Shipley and Miss Jill
Ryan
Gray for taking us around the set and explaining a lot of stuff to us that we would have never known otherwise. So that's our show for today. We've had a great time walking around the set. I'm sure you did too, didn't you, Tammy?
Oh, I had an awesome time.
It's been awesome. Okay, bye from the set.
Bye.
And we're very privileged for the access to come here. Mr. Wayne Shipley has allowed us to come and film behind the scenes on set. And we're going to wrap it up for today. This was a great show, walking around set, seeing the behind the scenes and what the buildings actually look like. And you enjoyed yourself, didn't you?
Oh, I enjoyed myself. Wayne was such a great host of the show, and also Jill with her knowledge on the rest of the sets. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Found him, Paul. Not 20 miles back.
Get the man, stay with your mom just in case.
Ain't likely, Paul. riders about 5 miles out. This here's a white woman. I know none of y'all want to see her dead. Come on now. You better hurry up with that horse. Everybody just stay calm. Don't nobody get nervous. Hold your fire!